And I mean, modesty isn't just about, not wearing a bikini or, like I said, the inches and all these things, but it's an interior disposition, and it is externally shown in the way you dress, but also the way you speak and the way you carry yourself, the way you treat other people. So I think when people get so like defensive about that word modesty, they're immediately thinking, oh, she's telling me I can't wear pants, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And instead of thinking like, what can I not do? I think people really need to think about, I am a temple of the Holy Spirit. I was made in the image and likeness of God. Do these words honor God? Does this dress, this swimsuit, does it honor God? What I'm wearing, what I'm saying, how I'm acting, and I think that should be the way people think about modesty, instead of the negative, like you can't do this, you can't wear this, you can't say that. But really, before you speak, like, okay, should the gossip, for example, like, should I be saying this? Are these words honoring God? Oh, probably not. I'll just keep it to myself.
What do you think are some standards for modesty separate from swimsuits? So it sounds like you're like, yeah, bikinis don't do it.
Yeah.
But what about other forms of clothing?
I do think
And can you do a modest bikini?
I don't know. I don't know about a modest bikini. But I do think it's situational. For example, if you're going to go to church or any sacred space in Italy, they have these signs outside of the door that are the guidelines of dress, their dress code. So I just got back from Italy, and it's basically you don't show your shoulders. I think like men can't wear shorts, if I saw that correctly, or you have
nothing
to wear
above the knee.
Nothing above the knee.
For men, I think maybe for men and women.
Right. Which for men now, a lot of men are wearing these super short shorts. And I generally, for myself, I think it also depends on your body type. And I'm pretty slim. I always have been. It's just how I was made. And so I don't have a lot of curves. Maybe if someone was a little curvy than I am, or if I was nursing a baby, I would have a little bit of a higher neckline. And but I don't think one blanket rule applies to every person or situation. And that's why it is very difficult to talk about.
So what would you recommend for people listening? They're like, okay, I would like to be modest, but not in the way that it's like extreme and frumpy and like the obviously modest person who's always buttoned up, but I want to be beautiful and fashionable. What would you recommend?
I think in the book that I wrote, we talked about tightness of clothing, not just when it comes to modesty, but when people are wearing things that are too tight and you can basically see the outline of their undergarments. I think that we shouldn't be able to see your undergarments on the outside of your clothing. So it shouldn't be too tight, not too low cut, maybe not too short. Like if you need to constantly adjust your clothing. So my husband is a high school teacher, and we chaperone a dance every year. And every year I feel like the girls' dresses were getting shorter and shorter and tighter and tighter. And, there'll be stairs at the venue, and I'm going upstairs, and, I can see your underwear, and the girls don't even look comfortable. They're like constantly tugging down on their dress or their skirt and constantly pulling things up. And so when you get dressed, you should look in the mirror and make sure that your outfit isn't see-through. Stand in front of the window or something, because I one time was at an event and this girl walked through, and her dress, it was maybe this kind of color, but it was sheer, and you could see her undergarments, and she didn't realize it. But as she walked through, I think she saw the look on people's faces, like, oh no, like they were just like a little bit embarrassed for her. And she went and told a friend of mine, like, oh my gosh, why didn't anyone tell me that my dress is see-through? And she ended up leaving. But things like that, look in the mirror and move in your clothing. Is this going to move when I have to raise my arms?
This idea of how will you use your beauty, I love that question. It's such a powerful one. what's your take on the standards of modesty? Because I'm sure people right now are listening and maybe some of them are like, hey, bikinis are not a big deal. It just has to be a more modest bikini.
Right.
And then maybe other people are saying, listen, it's not about any particular clothing guideline because cultures are all different. It's really about just your heart. God only sees the heart.
Wow.
So I'm just representing, some of the views that I hear often, even from, Christians or conservatives or whatever it may be.
It's such an explosive topic, and I've given like 2-day conferences on this because we've
got time, Jessica.
Yeah, I don't think you can really talk about it in an hour allotted by whatever conference I go to speak about modesty. I wrote a book. It's like a coffee table style book that sold out, and I didn't reprint it. I'm working on updating it, but I co-wrote it with Leah Darrow, who I think you know. And the first chapter it just talks about our inherent dignity, because I really think that the conversation has to start there. And a lot of people think about modesty and they think that it's about these rules, like 2 fingers below the collarbone. You can't show your elbows. You can't show your knees. You can't wear pants ever. And I've had people tell me there's no way that you can design and create a modest swimsuit because the swimsuit can never, ever be modest, and women just shouldn't be wearing them.
So are those people recommending that women don't swim?
I'm not sure if they recommend. I've heard some people say you should only swim in your own backyard pool where there's no one else around. And this is another reason that the talk went viral, because it was very interesting to see. I had to stop reading the comments because it drove me crazy. But some people were saying, oh, you're advocating for rape. And other people were saying, those aren't modest. Her swimsuits aren't modest at all. So it's like it's too modest or not modest enough. And people get into these arguments even on our Facebook page or our Instagram